but I always stick in a Godfather Part 2 reference whenever I can. But let me move on to our next guest, and it's a real honor to have her on, especially given that tomorrow night starts Yom HaZikaron, which is the day in which we remember fallen Israeli soldiers, because the guest is Harriet Levin, and I hope it's pronounced Levin, not Levin, but I apologize, Harriet, if it is. And her son, Michael Levin, was actually a casualty of the Second Lebanon War in 2006. He died heroically, taking fire from Hezbollah, and he's buried in Jerusalem today on the Mount on Mount Herzl. And I don't know what to say, but she's very involved in the Lone Soldier Project in Israel, and there's even been a movie made about her son and his heroism. And Harriet Levin, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. And yes, it is Levin,
okay,
unless
good.
You're from New York, and then it's Levin. And everything you said is correct. The movie about Michael was done by Sally Mitlis, and it is called The Hero in Heaven. And it's just about Michael and his love of Israel, his love of Zionism, which really started at a very, very young age. And Michael was just always determined to go to Israel and make a difference. And he certainly has. Maybe not while he was alive, but certainly with his passing.
I know it's hard for you to be objective because you're his mother, but very few people do this. I imagine very few people growing up in Holland, Pennsylvania, and Bucks County do. What did you emphasize in the home that made your son turn into a hero? And I know you're his mother, so you're biased, but if you can try to be objective, why your son?
Okay, first thing, I don't think of Michael as a hero. To me, Michael is my son. He was like every other son, a love-hate relationship where they're wonderful and you want to hug them and kiss them, or to the point where you yourself want to do them bodily harm. He was just a normal, everyday teenage kid. What did we do? Honestly, my husband and I always say Michael just came out like that. We have a Jewish home, a kosher home. He went to Camp Ramah. I think one of the biggest influences were both of my parents are Holocaust survivors. And my mother never spoke about it. My father always did. And I think Michael knew how important it was for Jews to have a homeland. And he grew up with that notion that he just needed to do something to defend it, that it would always be there.
Harriet, this is Bob Guzzardi. I have a friend of mine from Yardley, Pennsylvania, Greg Roman, who also made Aliyah to Israel. And he too is a Zionist. He sounds a lot like your son. I don't know his parents that well, but I suspect they will say the same thing about him. And it's really remarkable to see these young American Jewish boys who go to Israel and who are
Jewish girls.
Right. But to be true Zionists and that you keep a kosher home is all to your credit. And we have nothing but admiration for you and for your son and for your husband and for your whole family.
Thank you. When people give us the credit for it, I say, I can't take the credit. We have 2 other children, 2 daughters, and they're also different, where one is also has a kosher home. She's married and with a child, but would never think of making Aliyah to Israel. And the other one I always say is my, red, white, and blue American child, who'd never understood why Michael would even want to do this. And she was Michael's twin sister. So I don't take the credit for it. I really think it was part of his neshama, part of his soul.
This is fascinating because I have 2 kids too, and they're very, very different in the not exactly in those ways, but here you are in the one family, and you may want to not grab the credit, but we're certainly going to give it to you whether you want it or not. But it's fascinating to see, and we really appreciate your honesty in talking about your son this way, and that he was really a normal, everyday person. This was not any kind of, he's not a real hero. He ended up that way, but that's not what he wanted to be. And it's a fascinating story. So, actually this is a movie that we might take a look at later on. And, it's really an interesting story, and we hope to get to know you better. I mean, thanks, Adam, for finding Harriet. It's
very last minute also.
Yeah.
I just got the email yesterday from Israel.
It happens. Harriet, not to take the emphasis away from your son, but you're also involved in an organization for lone soldiers, the Lone Soldier Project. Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
When we went to Israel to bury Michael, which was Michael's request, we sat Shiva there for 3 days and flew home and 3 days here in the States. And one of our closest friends, Rabbi Alan Silverstein, who is originally from Philadelphia, now in West Caldwell, New Jersey, went over with us for the funeral, his whole family, and did the eulogy. And it was really Alan who said, you have to do something with this, and Michael would want it. And the more people we spoke to in Israel, we found that nobody understood what it was to be a lone soldier. When we would talk to them, they say, they don't have it any harder than anybody else. And they really, really do. Michael would say, everybody has where to go for Shabbat, for a Chag that's coming up, for a holiday. I have no one. I have no one to help me. Michael went not speaking Hebrew. And we decided, we were going to make a difference. And so we started the Michael Levin Memorial Fund for Israel, focusing on lone soldiers. We've done a lot for his unit. Michael was in 890 of the paratroopers. We hold every other year for lone soldiers an event for about 300 to 400 lone soldiers for 2 days. And we, on an army base, so it's secure, with swimming and relaxation. There's also the second day a job fair, if you will, where different organizations, colleges come, so to help these kids to find out what they're going to do after the Army, to help them with college applications, to help them find housing and banking and loans, because like all of them, and you'll say to them, what are you doing after the Army? Well, we're going to travel, and I have no idea where to turn. And from that sprang the Michael Levin Lone Soldier Center, which we help to sustain. The main one is in Jerusalem. There's one in Haifa and one in Tel Aviv, which was really the brainchild of, his name is Tiki Ode, who really adopted lone soldiers and was a tremendous help to Michael. And Michael always used to tell him, Tiki, we need someplace to go, somewhere to help us with our Hebrew, somewhere where we can send an email, a fax. And after Michael passed, Tiki said, this is what I'm going to do in memory and in honor of Michael. And it is a huge, huge success. We get letters all the time from lone soldiers to say, this has helped me so much. They've gotten me an apartment. They found me furniture. So we feel like we're just continuing in Michael's footsteps to try to make a difference.
Harriet Levin of Bucks County, Pennsylvania, who is very much involved in the Lone Soldier Project. And you can find out more about her heroic son, I am going to use that term, Michael Levin, who died in the Second Lebanon War. You can find out more about him in the short film documentary, A Hero in Heaven, and you can find out more about that at aheroinheaven.com. Wishing you all the best for Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut, and thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.